What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Darren, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I talk about fragrances on this channel. I talk about fashion as well. So if you love looking good and smelling great, hey, consider hitting the subscribe button. And don't forget, also, make sure you hit the bell icon. That way, when I upload new content on the channel, YouTube will notify you that a video has been uploaded. Yo, man, shout out to the Noops, man. All the brothers of the noble clan of Kappa Alpha Psi. We just had our Founders Day that passed on January 5th. 111 years of achieving at the highest level, man. So shout out to all my frat. I'm representing today, guys. I got of course, my Kappa coffee mug. I have on the bow tie, representing as well as the cuff links as well. Okay, side. So shout out to all those smooth, pretty boys of the noble clan of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So guys, it's a new year, man, and a few years ago we started this video. I don't remember who started it, but it was a video started where you did 10 designer fragrances for life. If you can only keep 10, what would you keep? I love these kind of videos. They're fun. Anybody that's hardcore into collecting, would you want to give up the rest of your fragrances? Probably not, I'm sure. But if I can only keep 10, I've selected 10. Well, I selected 10 back then, of course, that would have made that list for me. And I love doing stuff like this, going back and revisiting a list like this, because it's just kind of fun to see how much things have changed, if they've changed at all. Now, I have not watched my first video or installment that I did of this, but I am going to, after this video posts, I'm going to go back and look at it to see what is still a part of the first list. What fragrances on the list are still part of the list now. But today, I'm going to be giving you 10 designer fragrances for life. If I could only keep 10 designer fragrances, what would I keep? Well, you know how we rock, man. If you want to see what's on this list now, the 2021 version of this list, then you know the routine. Keep it locked right here. All right, we're back, man. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. This is going to be fun, so I want to go ahead and jump right into this list of fragrances. Now, the first one on the list today, this one comes from the house of Burberry. And honestly, like I said, guys, I don't remember if this was on the first list or not. It's going to be interesting for me to go back and take a look at it to see what made it. But easily one of my top 10 favorite designer fragrances of all time from the house of Burberry, Burberry Touch. Burberry Touch. Once again, when I talk about this fragrance, something that I like to always mention. This is proof that, cost is not a determining factor when it comes to what smells great. And honestly, I just think this is criminally underpriced for what you get in this fragrance. This is one of my favorites. I wear this fragrance oftentimes for casual situations, and I'm just running out shopping, running errands. I love to wear this fragrance when I go to the barbershop. Never forget, I posted one day that I was going to get a haircut, and one of my subscribers was like, hey, did you wear Burberry Touch? I happen not to be wearing it that day, but most of the time when I'm going to get a fresh haircut, I like to wear this scent. It is just such a versatile fragrance. I love the way this stuff smells. My youngest son, Madden, this is like his favorite fragrance, so there's some sentimental value to it there as well. But main notes in this, I would say a violet leaf. Has a really spicy heart, but it's not overly spicy. But I think there's some nutmeg in here. There is, when it dries down, you got white musk, vetiver, and cedar wood, and a little bit of tonka bean, just the right amount of sweetness from the tonka bean to kind of play in well with those spices in the middle of this. But guys, this is an amazing fragrance, and you can find this everywhere fragrances are sold, rack stores, you name it. Discounters, you will find this fragrance. It's easily accessible and it's darn good. So the first fragrance, of course, that I would keep on the designer side for the rest of my life. I gotta have this in my collection, man, from the house of Burberry. Again, this is called Burberry Touch. All right, guys, so the next fragrance on the list, 10 fragrances, designer fragrances for life. What would I keep? I gotta keep this right here from the house of Dolce Gabbana. This is Dolce Gabbana The One, Eau de Parfum. The One, Eau de Parfum. This is an oldie, but it's a goodie. One of the best designer date night fragrances, well, one of the best date night fragrances of all time, period, in my humble opinion, designer or niche. Gotta have this right here on the list. It just smells absolutely amazing, man. The scent DNA of this is, you know, so seductive and so alluring. I have a lot of great memories with this scent right here. Sometimes that nostalgia kind of plays into it, but outside of that, it's just a great fragrance. Like I said, orange blossom, tobacco, and amber are the main notes in this. Oh man, it just smells absolutely fantastic. I love the way the tobacco note is used in this. It's more, it kind of comes off to me more as a tobacco leaf, more than just a pure tobacco. But at any measure, this is an amazing date night fragrance, and I just love the way that this smells. And oftentimes on a list like this, that's what it comes down to me, how it smells. So second fragrance that I would keep for the rest of my life on the designer side of things is from the house of Dolce & Gabbana, and this is Dolce & Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum. All right, the next fragrance that I would keep for the rest of my life on the designer side of things, this one comes from the house of Hermes. You know what it is. This is Terre de Hermes. Terre de Hermes. And of course, this is my office fragrance. This is like the quintessential office fragrance to me. What does it have in it? Well, of course, on the top you have the beautiful, bright note of orange and citrus notes on the top of this fragrance right here. And when it dries down, of course, you get the gunflint, you get the vetiver. That gunflint gives it this, that's what people talk about, this kind of dirty, almost earthy appeal from this fragrance. It comes from that, and of course, the vetiver in this fragrance. But man, listen. When I tell you this is the perfect office scent, it's inoffensive. I get great performance out of this, and it appeals to the masses because of that nice, bright, orange, citrusy opening. Perfect fragrance. I love this stuff. Well done from the house of Hermes. So I would definitely keep this one as one of my 10 from the house of Hermes. Again, this is Terre de Hermes. All right, guys, so the next fragrance that I will keep for the rest of my life, this isn't going to make the masses happy, but it is what it is. This is my 10, and I'm being honest about what I really enjoy and what I would keep. So this one is from the house of Christian Dior. You guessed it, Dior Sauvage. Now, this is the EDP concentration. Dior Sauvage Eau de Parfum. Now, I've gone back and forth since I have acquired all the different iterations of Sauvage, and at times I felt like the Parfum would be my choice, but I keep coming back to the EDP. I really sincerely feel like this is my favorite. Even with the elixir that was released, this is my favorite iteration of Dior Sauvage. Of course, you have that kind of spicy, peppery opening. That hasn't changed. You have the lavender in the heart of this fragrance. Now, this one has star anise, and that star anise gives this a very this kind of velvety texture as this fragrance really starts to dry down. I really love that characteristic about this particular iteration of Dior Sauvage. And again, of the 4 at this point, well, the 5, I guess, if you include the cool spray, this is my favorite. You guys know about this fragrance. It's so mass appealing. It's so well received by other people that you come into contact with. Now, of course, it's been a victim of its own success, like a lot of other fragrances that are very, very good. And that become widely, universally popular, a lot of people start to look at the fragrance and it starts to receive a negative connotation attached to it because it's so good. But hey, I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to penalize this fragrance because a lot of people like it and it's so good. In my opinion, mission accomplished. So again, if I could only keep 10 designer fragrances, I'm keeping it 100. This is one that I got to have in my collection. So Dior Sauvage EDP concentration definitely makes my list of 10 designer fragrances for life. All right, guys, the next fragrance that will make my list of 10 designer fragrances for life, this is such a hidden gem to me. But this is from the house of Christian Dior as well, and this is Dior Homme Sport. Now, this is the 2012 edition of this fragrance. From what I understand, there was one more that came out even before this in 2008. I've never smelled that, but man, guys, this is the winner right here. Now, they had a new version of this fragrance that was reformulated in 2017, and they took the iris note out. And then I think there's even a newer one that was just released of Dior Homme Sport. This is the winner in my humble opinion. This scent is so good. Now, when I was doing this list or compiling this list, I went back and forth because I considered this one. I considered Dior Homme Intense, as well as Dior Homme Parfum as well. And this one to me is just, I gotta be honest, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. Even the original Dior Homme, all four of those fragrances really, if anybody had either of those four on a list like this, I'm not gonna argue with them because all four of those fragrances are absolutely fantastic. But there's just something special about Dior Homme Sport, the 2012 version to me. This one still has the iris. You get the citron, so it's a little bit of a citrusy kind of opening. Citrus you get in the opening, of course, with some ginger. And like I said, you still have the iris here, which is very, very prominent. But then you have these kind of green notes as it dries down, man. It's just, again, an amazing fragrance. You gotta put your nose on it. It's not, you know, extremely like impossible to find this. You can still kind of find it, but if you can find this version of it, the 2012 version of Dior Homme Sport, this is an absolute gem. Definitely one of the fragrances I'm keeping for the rest of my life. Again, so make sure, guys, if you can find it, you check it out. Dior Homme Sport 2012 edition. All right, guys, now the next fragrance on this list that I'll keep for the rest of my life is from the house of Chanel. Now, I will tell you, now, I accidentally brought the wrong one downstairs, and I'm not going to stop and go back upstairs to get it, but I'll just tell you, Bleu de Chanel. Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Now, this is the EDT. I have the EDT, I have the EDP as well as the Parfum. Now, the Parfum is actually the one that I would select, and again, I thought I had that when I brought my fragrances downstairs, but I don't. So anyway, Bleu de Chanel Parfum is my favorite iteration of Bleu de Chanel. Again, anybody that has the EDT, EDP, Parfum, I'm not going to argue the point. My favorite is the Parfum because of the amped up woods and the amped up tonka bean and the dry down of the scent. It's a little bit more woody, a little bit more mature. That's my preference. So definitely, easily, you guys know Bleu de Chanel, any iteration of this fragrance. This is one of the most wearable, most well-received fragrances universally. So much versatility from that fragrance, so it's a really good value still for the dollar, although it's relatively expensive comparatively speaking to a lot of other designer fragrances because you don't find Chanel often heavily discounted. But it's worth it because you get so much use out of it. So definitely one of the fragrances I would keep for the rest of my life, Bleu de Chanel Parfum. All right, guys, so the next fragrance that I will keep for the rest of my life on the designer side of things comes from the house of Paco Rabanne, and this 1 million Prive. 1 million Prive. Guys, check this out. This bottle is almost full. Why? Because this is my backup bottle. As most of you know by now, this fragrance has been discontinued, unfortunately. I do have another bottle that's about maybe 2/3 of the way, well, a third of the way full. So I went on ahead and secured myself a backup bottle of this. I have so many fragrances, so I can say with confidence I'll probably have this for the rest of my life because I don't think I can run through a whole bottle and another third of a bottle in my lifetime because I have so many fragrances. But that's why if I have a fragrance that I would consider to be one of my top 10 of all time, I gotta make sure I have enough of it to last. So if it ever becomes discontinued, I'll make sure that I go ahead and jump on it and get a backup bottle, which is what I did with this. Guys, it smells like apple pie. If you smelled Wajan from Parfums de Marly, Ombre Narguilé, those fragrances all smell very similar. They all give you that same kind of warm spiciness, that warm spicy apple pie kind of vibe. It has cinnamon, it has myrrh, it has blood orange, it has some tonka bean and patchouli and myrrh as it dries down. What an amazing designer fragrance, man. I gotta do a full review of this. I don't think I have yet. I want to do a full review of this because this fragrance deserves it. So easily one of my top 10 designer fragrances of all time that I would definitely keep for the rest of my life from the house of Paco Rabanne. Again, this is called 1 million Prive. All right, guys, the next fragrance that will make this list comes from the house of Giorgio Armani, Acqu Di Gio Profumo. Acqua di Gio Profumo, man, listen, this is simply put one of the best designer fragrances ever. Ever. The first one was an amazing smash hit. It sold more bottles than any other fragrance of any kind, Acqua di Gio, the original. And this to me is, it improved the DNA of the original Acqua di Gio. When I was in college, I used to love wearing the original, man. That nice aquatic thing that you got with Acqua di Gio was so alluring and so attractive at that time. And then they added some incense and patchouli to that whole mix, and they made the DNA even better. This stuff is just absolutely phenomenal. Nothing much more to say about this scent. They just made the best smelling, best selling fragrance of all time even better. So how could they not make a list like this from the house of Giorgio Armani? Again, Acqua Di Gio Profumo. All right, guys, these last two fragrances on this list were probably the easiest selections for me when I went about choosing these 10 fragrances. I've talked about this fragrance a lot on this channel, and you guys, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you probably know what this is anyway, so let's go ahead and show it from Tom Ford. Noir Extreme. Noir Extreme, this bottle is really low. It's all the way down to here, and I have a backup bottle on the way. This stuff is so good, man. It's so good. You got that cardamom in the opening. You got saffron that kind of gives this warm, very, very warm overall vibe to this fragrance. Of course, you have the infamous coffee note, which is a dessert. I think it's it can actually come in different varieties of different flavors. Coffee. This one is pistachio, so you got that kind of nuttiness that comes from the coffee in this. Amber, vanilla as it dries down. Man, this is again, in my opinion, a masterpiece. If he sold this in the private collection and charged $300 for it, $250, I think people would have bought it. I would have bought it because again, it's one of my absolute favorite fragrances. Easily, designer or niche. Love this stuff right here. Like I said, as evidenced by the fact that I have a backup bottle that's on the way. So easy selection right here. One of my top 10 designer fragrances that I will keep for the rest of my life from the house of Tom Ford. This is Noir Extreme. All right, guys, and last but not least on this list, top 10 fragrances, designer fragrances if I can only keep 10 for the rest of my life, I'm keeping this, man. This is Pure Havane from the house of Mugler. Pure Havane. I've already have a backup bottle of this. Another one, unfortunately, like 1 million Prive. This stuff has been discontinued. And again, evidenced by the fact that I'm true to form on this list. I will keep this for the rest of my life, so I got a backup bottle already that I make sure I got my hands on. This one is probably about halfway full, so I think that should do me for the rest of my life. Man, this stuff is really good. Sometimes I go back and forth with this and Pure Malt, but there's just something about this one that keeps getting the edge over Pure Malt for me. You know, you got that vibe of cherry. It doesn't have cherry in it, but there's something in this that definitely comes across like cherry. You got tobacco in this as well. That's mainly what this is. This fragrance is, man, but it's so good. It's so good. You got, of course, got the signature patchouli note in here as well. But what a masterfully done fragrance. A lot of people compare this to Naxos from Xerjoff. There's some similarities there, but Naxos is a lot cleaner to me because of that lavender. This one right here is all about the tobacco, man, the cherry and the tobacco. So easily one of my favorite 10 designer fragrances of all time. I'm definitely keeping this one around from the house of Mugler. Again, this is called Pure Havane. All right, guys, that's it. That's my time, man. I hope you enjoyed this list, the 2021 version of if I could only keep 10 designer fragrances for the rest of my life, these will be my 10 choices. As always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention to these videos. I know you guys don't have to watch, but you do, and I sincerely appreciate that. Don't forget to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks that you think could use this information or find it entertaining, because I'm your guy, the bow tie fragrance guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.